All right, we are here with Phillies starting pitcher Zack Wheeler on the Midday Show live in Clearwater, Florida. Zach, how you doing? How you feeling?
Feeling well. Spring training, so just all the normal stuff. Just getting through some, some drills and getting through the day and just trying to get out of here.
Zach, I told Joe I was going to let him ask the first question because I got some off-the-beat questions that I want to ask, man. And the first is about the rib.
Okay.
I need to know the conversation that was had between you and the doctor when you said, how did it go? Because me and Kyle, we have a bet on how the conversation went. And before I say anything, I just need to know how that conversation went and how did you acquire your own rib, man? How did you do that?
So I think it's pretty common when you have that surgery for the person to get the rib.
It is?
Yeah, I think so. I've known some baseball players to get the rib. I've also heard of other people not being offered the rib.
Uh-huh.
So maybe it's not a thing, but I don't know. Maybe it's just the position that we're in where they give us the rib for some reason. But anyways, I'm there. I'm laying in the hospital bed, and the doctor comes in, and he basically pulls it out of an envelope, and it's just like, most of the time I mail it to my patients, but I'm going to give it to you right now. And so I basically just unraveled it from the Ziploc, and I looked at it, and it's pretty fresh. So
that is not that. I forgot how we said the stories go, but that is not how I anticipated it. I didn't know the doctor gave it to you. I thought it was going to be something where you had to actually ask for the rib. So he offered it to you.
Yeah. He offered it to me, and it was a day or two later, I think it was.
So, Hugh was worried it was a biohazard. So, do you have it like
it's
is it like
a biohazard?
Is it framed or is it just like on top of a shelf somewhere?
Well, it was funny. It became a story when we're down here and it blew up like crazy. It's just a reporter asked me, "Do you have the rib?" I said, "Yeah." And then, "Where is it?" I said, "It's in my closet." I mean, where else? Where do you want me to have this rib at? It's so yeah. I mean, it's Paul, the trainer. He you have to preserve it and stuff.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. You have to mix it in a bunch of stuff and preserve it and put a wax on it or something like that, and then you could.
I just think this story is fascinating.
It's weird.
It's weird.
I mean,
it's not. It's just it's fascinating because I thought you asked for it. I thought you after you had the surgery that you asked for it, and Kyle said they probably gave it to you. I think that's what you said, Kyle. Correct?
I said, I bet you the doctor just said, "Do you want to keep the rib?" And he said, "Yeah."
Yeah, that's just I just find it fascinating. But we had but we're not gonna. I'm not gonna lie to you. I had painted this whole picture of how.
Oh, it's all he talked about yesterday.
How you would have conversations when people come over and say, "Hey, you want to see my rib?" And it's in the closet. I just thought you had this whole spiel and had a shrine to your rib at the house or something.
Yeah, maybe some people would. I don't know, but it is a little weird. He gave it to me, so I just kept it, and I don't know, just do it in the closet.
So how close do you feel to yourself? Do you feel yourself? Let's say this never happened. Is this spring different for you, the way you feel? I know it's been a different path, right, the process to get this opening day and whenever you're going to get back on the mound during the season. But do you feel different today than you did a year ago in spring training?
It is. I don't know. It's kind of hard to say. I mean, I don't feel different as in my shoulder or the rib area. I'm just a little behind at this point, obviously, than what I normally am. So, I think I threw my third bullpen yesterday. Still just, kind of getting through the ups and downs of starting to throw off the mound. Your first one's always good, usually for me at least, and then it kind of goes downhill with, over-rotating, and I just get kind of sloppy with my mechanics and stuff, and then you kind of have to fix it and adjust, and then it starts going back to where you want it. So I'm kind of at that point right now where the ball's not really going where I want it to, but that's where you start working and get it back to where you want it to. So that's normal for me in spring. Shoulder feels great. Honestly, it doesn't really feel any different than it did before. So.
Do you have a date, or is it going to be a little more fluid in terms of, hey, I'm in this process, mound, then some starts, innings, or do you have a date in your mind where I want to be back April 15th, April 20th, May 1st? Do you have a date in mind, or is it more how the progress goes?
I think we have a date that we're working towards. I don't think I'm going to put that out there, but it's you set goals along the way. Sometimes you reach them, sometimes you don't. So, that's for me personally and our staff. And, it's just something that, you work towards every day, gives you that motivation. And, it's like I said, everything's going smooth so far. You never know when something could pop up. It's baseball. It's your body, and you kind of just hope for the best. And I feel great though.
Speaking of that, and being an older player, and you know how it is when you have injuries like that later in your career, how tough was it to kind of deal with the whole process of going through it, and they're trying to figure out what's going on with you and all that other stuff. How tough was that for you?
It was different. It's something that you really don't think is going to happen. You rarely hear about it, and then it's just something that, like I said, you just don't expect. So I felt it obviously during that game against the Nationals, but I felt it the day before also. Mm-hmm. My arm just felt kind of full when I got my heart rate up a little bit, and so we're like, whatever, we'll see how it is tomorrow. And then I got my heart rate up in the training room before, just doing some arm exercises and getting it loose and stuff. And I went out there to the mound, and I felt it, and then I kind of just pitched through it, and that came in after, and their orthopedic guys came over and were like, yeah, like you need to get that checked out. So the next morning I went, and that's kind of how we found out about it. So it was all kind of quick. It happened pretty quick. It wasn't something
so you
that
really didn't have a chance to really process everything
exactly
like that.
Exactly. I had to process it a little bit afterwards, just because from getting that original blood clot out to the surgery was about a month. Mm-hmm. So you had a little bit of time to think about it, but the doctor made me feel pretty comfortable about it and made it seem pretty simple and easy. So.
Have you had a chance to talk to any of the other guys that have had this same surgery? Because it's not a very common one, but it's happened enough now that there's some sample out there. And some guys have not come back great, but Merrill Kelly, an example, recent years had it, and he made 30 starts, and to me, he looks like he used to look.
Well, there's 3 different kinds of the TOS, which I didn't know before. There's the venous, and the nerve one, and then something else. I forget. And the artery one, I think it is, or something. I don't know. But there's 3 of them. I didn't even know that. And I guess the nerve one's the hardest one that guys have had coming back from. The Strasburg, I think it was, and Harvey, and a couple other guys. Kelly and myself have had the venous one, and that seems to be a little easier to come back from for whatever reason. So, that was good when I heard about that. But going to your point, when, guys have reached out to me, the handful of guys actually, and, I appreciate it, and you love that from fellow players around the league. But at the same time, I kind of sat and thought about it for a second. I don't want to really hear, speed bumps that they had, just because I don't want to expect that at a certain point in my rehab or, just the process for me. I don't want to be like, oh, this guy had this at week 8, like here, maybe I should feel this at week 8. Mm-hmm. No, I just want to, just do my own thing, and if something comes up, then we'll deal with it. But that's why I kind of didn't talk to anybody else about their experience.
So I'm kind of curious, because you seem like real calm and kind of taking every day as it comes. So how has all of this, dealing with all of this, changed your perspective on how you look at baseball moving forward now?
I don't know. I'm a little different than most guys, I feel like, as in, like you said, I kind of just take things as they come. Mm-hmm. I had a problem. We took care of it.
That's it.
Now we're just going to go back and pitch.
Okay. I mean, because, sometimes, as an older player, when certain things happen, when you get a certain age, you start to think about your mortality in the game and things of that nature. So that is never – you're just like, hey, we're going to get it fixed, and we're going to go back out there and we're going to do our thing.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I may not be the same pitcher. Mm-hmm. I don't know. But that's the mindset, and that's what I'm working towards right now. And I think that's the motivation that I need to, just do my thing every day, just work out and get stronger and just keep being the guy who I was.
Let's talk about the team and expectations and where you guys – I mean, you guys have been so close for years now. I had to imagine last year was tough for you watching the playoffs, not being able to participate. You guys were this close in that series against the Dodgers. But another year, expectations are big. What's the vibe here? Because this year it's similar, but there's also some new young guys that you guys are working in, Painter with you in the rotation. What's the vibe in this spring training, considering the expectations you guys have on yourselves?
I don't think it's different than most years. Without some of the guys being here right now, for the WBC, but I think we all have the same mindset, and that's the same as years past, is winning the World Series. I know we haven't done it. We've come up short. Each year has gotten a little further away from it, which is unfortunate. But we all still have that same drive, and we still want to win. I think getting so close all these years and kind of taking a step back every year has pushed us a little bit more this year. We know we're all a little older, and I'm not saying that, that's a factor of us not getting to where we want to be, but it's
the reality.
It's something, yeah.
Yeah,
it's the reality. We're all getting a little older. I haven't won a World Series. I want to win one. Schwarber's won one. I know he wants to win another one. When you get that taste, you want to win another one. And so, everybody kind of puts their stamp here. Everybody, this is a great sports town, and we want to be a part of that.
Zack Wheeler with us here on the Midday Show. Zack, let's talk about the young guys in the rotation that are with you now. I mean, when you got here, it was you and Nola at the top, right? And then there's a bunch of other guys behind you. And now it feels like it's changed to where you got some other stars with you and Aaron in this rotation. What Luzardo did last year, Christopher Sanchez. What has it been like watching Sanchez in particular develop over the years with you in this rotation?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. He had a lot of potential when he first came over and then came up to big league camp. We all heard he used to throw 99, 100, this with no command. And then he kind of took a step back, lowered his velo a little bit, started getting his command. And then once he got comfortable with that, his velo started going back up. And that's usually what you want to do as a pitcher, is kind of get that command under control. Maybe if it is taking a little bit off. And then once you get that comfortable, once you get comfortable throwing strikes where you want, you can kind of pick up the intensity and your velo comes a little bit back. But anyways, his changeup is unbelievable. It's probably the best one in the big leagues, and that helps him out a lot. But he's motivated. He's one of the hardest working guys on the staff, and his hard work has paid off. He's committed. He was telling me the other day that he watches video every single day. That's not a big thing anymore, watching video. You have guys coming to you basically telling you what the video would show you instead of looking at video these days. Knowles, I expect him to have a bounce back year. I know he wasn't happy about how last year went. I know he still has it in him, obviously. And, Painter, he's promising. You always love a big, strong, young kid who can throw hard. A lot of potential there. And Luzardo, we all knew what he had. And then last year, I think, he just stepped up his game being a part of our staff, which was probably top 3 in the big leagues. And you don't want to be the low guy on the totem pole. So, I think he stepped up his game a little bit, and he fit right in.
Let's talk about the future a little bit. When you signed, I think you signed your most recent deal right after we had you on a couple years ago in spring training. I think right after we done talking, you signed before the season. And you said at that point it was probably going to be your last contract. Do you still feel that way? Is this it this year, next year, and then Zack Wheeler is headed to retirement, or is that changed?
I keep getting asked this question, and I guess I set myself up for it, but I don't know. It probably just depends on what happens next year. With the lockout and everything like that. So, I never want to say never, but it's still up in there.
What's your feeling on the potential lock? It's a huge story, the lockout. I know last year Rob Manfred talked to your team and other teams. I think Bruce Meyer was here yesterday talking to you guys. You've been in the big leagues a long time. You've seen these. You had the lockout, a couple years ago here when you're with the Phillies. What's your feeling on how this is going to go, and do you think we're headed for a work stoppage?
I think so. Yeah, that's what it sounded like, and that's what it's looking like. Unfortunately, the owners. It's kind of a touchy subject.
Yeah.
Everybody has. I don't know. It's weird. It's everybody here has a lot of money. I hate saying that, and we're fighting over a kid's game. It's we love playing ball. We want to play. We know the fans love us. It's nothing on them. It's this. We want what we think we deserve, and the owners don't want to give it to us. So it's it's part of it. And other sports have collapsed in a sense. They're player unions, and they have a salary cap now. We don't want to do that. That's not us, and all the guys before us have been battling that for years and years and years, and we haven't let them do that to us, and that's still the plan, and that's where we're at with that.
Let's end with a change that is happening now, which is the ABS system. What do you think of it?
Yeah, it's funny.
I see you being real measured in what you say. It's cool. It's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. I mean,
don't get in trouble.
It's funny. It's I see it both ways. It could definitely be helpful. At the same time, I remember when we got out of here last year at the beginning of the season, umpires were so used to having a smaller zone, trying to perfect it here in spring training, the ABS system, because we had it in spring last year. Mm-hmm. And at the beginning of the season, in the regular season, they're missing calls because they're so used to being smaller. So, I'm just thinking going into the season, I don't want the umpires to miss strike calls, and then, you only have 2 challenges, and if you miss one, you have one left, and you don't want to use that one. So I just don't want, strike calls being called balls because they're scared of calling balls or scared of calling ball strikes or whatever it is. It's this weird last year at the beginning of the season. There's a lot of strikes being called balls, and I just don't want that to happen again because they're afraid of messing up. It's nothing on them. I'd probably be the same way if I was behind the plate. But yeah, it's weird. It's it's different from what we're all used to. It could be helpful. Later in the game, big time up the plate. Schwarber or Harper's up there, and a guy just misses a call. It's way off the plate, and they challenge it. Gets called a ball, which it should have been, and next pitch they hit a home run to make us go ahead and win the game. It could definitely help us, and it could definitely hurt us. This was one of those things.
Do you foresee yourself using it as a pitcher? I heard Chris Sale a few weeks ago said he'll never challenge.
Yeah.
Would you? Or is that something you're going to leave more to the hitters to do when you guys are up?
I'll probably leave it up to JT 99% of the time, unless one's directly down the middle,
right,
which happens sometimes. They're directly down the middle, and he calls it a ball. Otherwise, I'm leaving it up to JT because there's been plenty of times where I throw a ball, and I'm like, dude, what the heck? Like, that's right down the middle. And then I go back and look at the iPad after the game, and it's 3 balls off the plate. And JT's just so good at making it look like a strike that it fools us on the mound sometimes too. So I don't think I could ever do that.
Good stuff. Zach, man, we appreciate you hopping on, giving us some time. We're happy you're back. Good luck with the health and moving forward, and we're excited to see you back on the mound very soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
There he goes. Zach Wheeler here on the Midday Show on Sports Radio 94 WIP.